picture-in-picture with Stewart Flaherty, the longtime soccer head coach, as well as a great analyst of the game. He's going to join me for another segment that's going to come up in just a second that he doesn't know about, but I know he's going to be prepared for and excited about. Stu Flaherty, it's been a million years, my guy. How you doing?
It is. How are you, brother? It's good to see you. I'm doing well.
Yeah, it's good to see you as well, and happy to have you here. You know, I want to say before anything else, because I think it's incredibly important to to let people know. I say people in this world, when they complain about something, they want to tell everybody, but when something good happens or there's a good interaction, people stay quiet. I'm the opposite. So I want to say, Stu, for meeting you and when we first crossed paths to right after that, having you to the house, having you there for the NFL title game party, sitting with you, watching and going over games with you. I mean, our friendship built very quickly, and professionally and personally. You are just somebody that I'm very happy to cross paths with. I look back at that moment and I think to myself, of everything that could have been and ended up being, maybe the whole point of you coming through Central New York was so you and I could literally cross paths and be able to be here today and build this relationship. So I just got to say, Stu, I really value you. I respect you. I appreciate you. And I always want to see you doing well.
Feel the same, brother. And is that a Dallas Cowboys shirt I see? Because I love that.
Yeah, and so I knew you would notice it and appreciate it. It's my low key. I'm going to be announcing something today that I will be doing in Texas here in July, and so this is my low key kind of subliminal messaging of what's of the news that I'm going to break, and I knew that you would appreciate it and say something about it, which would provoke me to tell people, stay tuned today on our social media, because I will be releasing something I've never done before and I'm very excited about.
Let's go.
Yeah. So are you now bring us, there's a lot of things I want to get into, a lot of stuff I want to cover with you. I first and foremost, before we get into your journey, we do a segment on the show called the Top Dog of the Week. Top Dog of the Week is probably presented by Canine Camp Dog Daycare. It is the only place I would suggest for you to bring your dog for daily care. They're in East Syracuse on 228 Old Bridge Street, right across from BJ's Wholesale Club. And you can see them from the highway. Very easy to get to. For more information, call 315-437-7110 or go online to k-9kamp.com. Top Dog of the Week, I'm doing this World Cup style. So if you had to pick a top dog, either a country or an individual player, who would be your top dog for the knockout stage of 32 so far?
Harry Kane.
Okay.
I thought England were in a deep, deep hole. I thought everything was going against them, and I think if Harry Kane wasn't playing in the game, Congo's in the round of 16 right now. So that's my pick.
Yeah, and I can 100% understand. I mean, Harry came through in such a way that was absolutely undeniably, and I agree with you, if he wasn't there, then the Congo's moving on. And that matchup really did show what an individual can mean to a country. I would say, arguably, I think this is an easy pick to some people, but I think when this man sets up for a penalty kick, 99.99999% of the time, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to make that penalty kick. And when they were down 1-0 and this, Portugal-Croatia game yesterday in the knockout round of 32, as soon as the opportunity came, there's no one else I thought would go up for it. And to me, it's like flicking the light on. When you wake up in the morning, you think the light is, every time you hit that switch, you expect the light to come on, and that's Cristiano Ronaldo. So I think that obviously was the equalizer in an eventual victory for Portugal. So I would say that. I would also say my top dogs of the week, I have kind of twofold. One of them is the fact that all of the host countries in the North American Cup in FIFA are in the round of 16. So Mexico, Canada, and the United States, who are representing and having these matches played on their soil, are still in it, because it would be a bad look if they weren't. So I would say shout out to all of them. The United States getting to where they are right now. I mean, atypical for them to get deep into the men's side of things when it comes to FIFA. The women's team has been fantastic in the World Cup. And then when you look at Mexico, of the three of them, I think if anybody was going to lean on and put money on somebody, they would put it on Mexico. 800,000 people in the streets going absolutely nuts to see Mexico move on to the round of 16. And then Canada getting the farthest that they've ever been. So I think the North American representation of the host countries, that's a top dog of the week. And then I would be remiss if I didn't say that my heritage just made me so happy. And if any number is going to have a goal, and he had 2 out of 3 yesterday, number 21, my favorite number, and Spain just going out, doing what they need to do. Is my heart going to stop a little bit with Spain playing Portugal again? Of course. But seeing Spain do what they did, command the way that they did, and there was another goal that was called off too early on. I don't know if I can pick one top dog for Spain's national team, but I would say with my family watching in Spain, I was able to put out a video yesterday where I got to mention my family, the Caracaos, as well as speaking on my just love for Spain and my heritage, and they shared it. And so we literally had this across the pond back and forth yesterday, speaking in Spanish and English with each other. And that was such a beautiful moment to feel like, in a way, I was sitting on the couch with them. So I would have to give Spain its flowers too as top dogs of the week.
Dan, where does the love of the number 21 come from? Which athlete sparked that?
So it's actually my birthday, October 21st.
Oh,
And so 21 just has always stuck with me. So when I'm watching Spain, and literally, like, the passes, the timing, the footwork, there was the one early on, the almost goal, where a pass comes in, and then here we are kind of like bunched up. Another pass comes through, and then to see the player take the ball and as it's coming in, spin around to try and spin off and shoot. If that had gone in, it would have been one of the greatest goals I've ever seen in my life. But I was moved by the effectiveness of Spain because, no matter how good they are and no matter who does what or who picks them to whatever, because it's my team, I am on edge the whole time. And I wasn't going to be okay until something got through the net. So I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful to see it. But yeah, when you see that 2 out of 3 goals were scored and you see the number 21, and then Cristiano Ronaldo, in honor of his teammate almost a year after their passing, he wore 21 when he went to greet the Portugal fans. So there's just something about number 21, and it keeps showing up. And our interview started at 10:21 on my birthday. So God is in full effect here, Stu.
Yeah.
So I want to jump right in from the top dog of the week, thanks to Canine Camp Dog Daycare, to the World Cup and to everything that's going on there. But before we hit that specific analysis, I want to go to you personally and your story. You're connected to the world of soccer. You love this sport. You have done so much to help people along in their careers, and you cross paths with them, then you cross paths again. I love from when you and I met and you were in Syracuse to where you are today. Bring me through your journey of the stops you've made and what you're doing now, because I'll say this in a good way, Stu, it's hard to keep up with you.
Well, I'm in the USL2 league. I left Syracuse to go coach the Denton Diablos, and I made a move to Columbus, Georgia. Same league, different team. It's a somewhat familiar move. Michael Hitchcock owns both teams, so it's kind of moving around inside. I don't know what you'd call it, the tent, the empire, the dynasty, whatever it is. So I'm the head coach of Columbus United. We've had a not a bad season and not a great season. We just had too many draws. We played 10 games, and there's 6 draws in those 10 games and 2 wins. So that's a real lopsided record, which I've never experienced before. But each draw came with its own story. We had one game against Birmingham Legion 2 at home. We were down 3-0 at half-time, and we tied 3-3. So that didn't feel like a draw. And then we went to Birmingham Legion away yesterday, and we did a double header with their pro first team. So we were in the UAB Blazers College Football Stadium, which was a wonderful arena, and we have three centre mids on our team with professional experience, and we were down all of them yesterday. So we put two college sophomores in centre mid, which was something new, and they played very well, and we ended up getting a 1-1 draw there. And you said about crossing paths. What was really cool was as our game finished, Dawson McCartney, who played for me at Dartmouth back in 2018, 2019, he runs out of the tunnel to warm up for the professional first team game, and he's a 7-year pro now. So that was really nice to see him doing so well.
Well, and for you, being a part of this, obviously we connected and talked about when you were in Denton. What did you experience down there in Texas, and just what you liked from being with the Diablos, and what that entire kind of chapter of your life was?
Yeah, I had a real good time in Denton. Yeah, we were 7-4-1. And every loss was home and away to the top two teams in the division. We were the third best, so we couldn't really complain about that. It came with its own challenges, like the USL2. A lot of teams could house players, and we couldn't at Denton last summer. So it was a trade-off, right? When you can't house players, it limits your recruiting. But when you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there is a gold mine of talent there. So it's very different and very limited to my usual recruiting. But Damon Gaukner was very supportive as the owner. We had our centre forward Pato Faz leave us 5 games in, and he's professional at Union Omaha now. Really enjoyed myself. Yeah, different kinds of games. We went away to McKinney in front of 4,500 fans and beat them 4-3. We won our last home game of the regular season 11-0, which doesn't happen very often. And it's every experience you get, you tend to have a problem that you couldn't figure out, and that forces you down a road of discovery in the off season. So you learn after the fact, and you have all kinds of examples where you successfully implement things and you add it to your database. So there is never a season without value. Every coach wants playoff appearances. Every coach wants trophies. But yeah, I certainly enjoyed Denton. That was a positive step on the ladder.
And then, Columbus United, like you said, coming up to Ohio and having that connection in the background, when it comes
Dan, Georgia, Columbus, Georgia.
Georgia, sorry, yes. Yeah. So Columbus, Georgia, my brain always goes back to Ohio. But,
everybody.
being in Columbus, Georgia with the Columbus United, like you said, 6 ties, outside of that, a 2-2 record of wins and losses beyond that, but in the South Central Division of the USL2, in the top 3 right now. I know that you said, just having so many draws that you've had this season through the games, the 10 games that you've played. But what does it say about where this Columbus United team is at, knowing that when we look at Dothan United as well as Swarm FC, that you're right there with them and there's still opportunity as you step forward?
Yeah, I mean, Dothan lost the national championship game last year, and one of our ties was 1-1 at home with them, and we had them under a lot of pressure for a lot of that game. So I think it's accurate to say we have the capacity and the capability to reach that level. They've been more consistent than we have, and they have found themselves in those tight games and found themselves a win late on, whereas we haven't. The one thing I am proud of is we haven't conceded any winning goals or equalising goals late on. When we played Montgomery, we were down 2-1 with 15 minutes left, and we won 3-2. And then we went to Apotheos and we scored 2 goals in the last 20 minutes for a win there. So in terms of those sort of clutch moments late in games when the mind and the body is tired, we've shown a pattern of coming out on the right end and not folding late, which is definitely an important factor for any group you coach.
Well, and to that point and to that credit, there's teams that can all come out striking early, but it's the sustainability. They always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so the reality of sometimes the team doesn't have to be the more talented team at the end, but the team that is obviously built well with endurance, built well with stamina, knows how to utilize their body. A team that is prepared, a team that is systematic, can beat a team that may be more talented if a team is more structured and more disciplined. So, what can you say to that side of it with Columbus United being structured, being disciplined, and then having the side of it when it comes to taking care of your body, that in those final few minutes of a match, whatever the score is, your team is able to turn on jets that might be exhausted with other teams?
Yeah, I give this group a 10 out of 10 in terms of what you're talking about right now. I think what's very fortunate is your locker room polices itself and our senior leadership in the locker room. It includes some former professionals. It includes a couple of devout Muslims. It's just not really a atmosphere of not taking care of your body. A lot of these summer teams can descend into socializing at the beach and drinking every chance you get. A lot of these summer leagues can not buy into their environment, and July's the time their mind starts to go back to their college season coming in August, so they drop the ball in the summer sense, so to speak. So yeah, I think I'm very blessed and very fortunate, and obviously a little bit as we've done some good recruiting in terms of getting the right people in, but it's a fit group and it's a mentally strong group, and it's definitely a whistle to whistle group.
Yeah, and that to me, I mean, putting together and assembling a team, for those that don't know, when they think about, soccer in America, they think about the MLS. When we talk about the USL and USL2, how does this all work together? How, just bring us into kind of the bones of what the USL and the USL2 are.
I mean, the MLS people can like it or not like it. A lot don't, but MLS sits atop US soccer, and it's not even close. There's no discussion that there is a league with the finances and the level and the crowd support that the MLS has. The USL is an interesting infrastructure that sits underneath it. The USL Championship is a fully functioning, good level pro league. And then you got the USL 1, which is another pro league. It's a different tier. And then you got the USL 2. Now, the USL Championship and USL 1 are both pro. USL 2 is the highest league in America outside the pros. It's where you'll find, like, we played against the Syracuse starting goalkeeper, Carl Jansen, this season, and you'll find a lot of power conference college players inside the USL 2. Now, there is a plan in place for USL to adopt promotion relegation. That's not going up to MLS. That's they're going to have like a USL Super League or whatever they call it, then the USL Championship, and then the USL 1. So there'll be a 3-league pro rel. But I'm certain that the USL 2 won't enter that, because as soon as they do that, they will lose access to all the college players. And there is a hefty percentage of college players inside the USL 2. It starts in May and it ends on August 3rd. So it's perfectly designed to keep these college players active, because a 3-month college season isn't going to get you ready for the pro game. Every kid who's taken those pro aspirations seriously will play in the summer and then play in the fall and have a 5-6 month season instead of just a 3-month season. If you think logically to how important that is, pro soccer is 9 months. So there's just no way you prepare for a 9-month pro season with a 3-month college season. You have to add this elite level summer ball in.
Well, and, like you said, to this, I mean, promotion relegation, it's something that a lot of people that may not be soccer fans, football fans, but fans of, Ryan Reynolds, for example, when you think about Wrexham and all that, I mean, that's how a lot of people learned about promotion relegation. Are you for or against USL2 having the adoption of promotion relegation? Or, the entire USL system?
I'm fully against USL2 having it, because they're going to have to invent a new league for all the college kids to get that elite level summer ball if they put the USL2 in the pro game. USL having 3-tier promotion relegation, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think the demand for the MLS to incorporate that is disingenuous. They have, over the course of 20, 30 years after they hired Don Garber from the NFL, they've built an NFL model, and they've took millions and billions of dollars from people under an NFL model. So then to go back after the fact and tell these people after all that investment that now they can be relegated, I don't think you're in a position to do that with an MLS owner legally, any more than you are Jerry Jones in the NFL, to tell him that if he goes 1-15 instead of a high draft pick, Now he's relegated into CFL or Arena League or whatever the plan is. Like, it's not going to happen. I think there's things in life that we want and things in life that are reality. And I think relegation out of MLS isn't coming. And I think the way MLS was built, and people can not like this, but MLS has been built very successfully. There's probably 3 or 4 pro soccer leagues in America went bankrupt before MLS figured it out. I don't think you get to add the layer of relegation on right now.
Yeah, and it brings a good point because, you know, if you are to be relegated, what does that do to the infrastructure of your club, and how can you even sell that when you're trying to build a league the way that the MLS has tried to build over time? USL too. I mean, you talked about bringing in college student athletes and having the opportunity for them to gain experience, because in order for them to be ready for an MLS season, you know, for a pro season, you're playing 9 months. You look at, I mean, we were having the discussion on Wednesday here on the show with Zach Bowden that between everything that's going on now in the world of professional soccer around the world, there are some players that are being asked to play 10, 11, 12 months out of the year. I mean, there's really no stopping because of the different events that come about and different things that happen. So what can you say to the fact that USL2, just how it bridges the gap and how it allows you to still be a student athlete in college, but to gain professional experience to get yourself ready, just what that dance is like and how important it
Yeah.
is to have the USL2?
I mean, I think the 12-month pro thing's gone way too far. Like, if you're an elite level pro player playing a 9-month season with sports scientists there to like sort of drain your battery over those 9 months, to constantly add never-ending summer commitments onto those guys. I think that's what happened to Cole Palmer. You know, there's all that discussion about him not being in the England team, but I think a huge part was a lot of these guys had a summer off, and Cole Palmer was here at the Club World Cup playing in 100 degrees. And then he just started again in August, and his levels visibly dropped all along. So you'll probably see Cole Palmer play very well in August and September. But yeah, I think that's overcooked. But the average USL college player is undercooked. You know, like if they go pro, they're all of a sudden going from playing against U23 soccer to U32 soccer, and it's already physically a step up. So for it to be physically a step up, technically and tactically a step up, and 2-3 times the length, it's just not a feasible jump. The old rookie wall in all those sports is very real in soccer too. So I just think getting that added game time and added training time to your rhythm is important. I think the ability to adapt to a brand new environment is important. You know, staying in your comfort zone with all your college friends and a coach and a system you're used to, again, that's only going to take you so far. So to be constantly put under demand to play different ways with different people in different situations, because ultimately what is professional other than a new situation, I think it's very much a good move for anyone who's taking the idea of playing past college seriously. There is some coaches that say, "Oh, I'm worried about my players getting injured." I truly believe coaches that say that don't have the big picture of their players' development at heart. They have a anxiety-based, fear-based attitude that if a player is going to get injured, it has to be in a game playing for them. And I think those guys also know that they're not getting those kids ready for the pro game. They just don't particularly care.
Well, I mean, you know, like you said, I mean, you're thinking about your team, your schedule, and there's coaches that think about themselves. There's coaches that think about what I'm overseeing, what is mine, what I have ownership of, and then there's coaches that think about other people and the longevity of it. I mean, are you relationship based or are you transactional? If you're transactional, I want my players to do nothing else but play for me because I need them to stay healthy because I want to win. If you're relationship based, like you are, you're saying, yeah, I want to win a championship with you, but I also want to create other opportunities that have nothing to do with me that can help you down the road. It just depends on what coach you choose to be.
Yeah, I also think there's a reality in college soccer where players talk. Coaches can like it or not like it, but players talk. And I know a lot of those guys who were sort of like, you're going to do this and you're only going to do this and this is all that matters. Players know that and players speak about that. And that's when people present the portal. it's very rarely presented through the lens of the coach not doing the optimal job. But that's absolutely a portion of the Portal era and why kids want to move on. And I don't think your team does win over any period of time unless every player thinks you have their best interest at heart. If not, it goes south. It's just a question of how long it takes to do so.
Yeah. And, you and I have bonded over the caring about other people and doing kind things for people, even if it does nothing for you to do for somebody else, to not always need to get a gift in order to give one. Stu Flaherty here with me, longtime soccer coach and analyst of the game. And we're here to speak, of course, on the 2026 FIFA World Cup inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. After you get to know him a little bit better and what he stands for, now let's hop into the round of 16 and what we know is coming. And so I want to break down by pod here the 4 different pods. I'll start with the one that I think is most difficult, the teams that move forward. I am not surprised. And so now we have Brazil versus Norway, and we will have Mexico versus England in what I consider to be the toughest pod to get to the Final Four of this FIFA World Cup here in 2026. Stu, give me your thoughts on a Brazil team that was pushed by Japan early, a Norway team that was pushed by the Ivory Coast, and then looking at Mexico, who was able to make quick work of Ecuador, and England, as you mentioned before, without a Harry. What is it about people named Harry connected to England? But without them, where do we go? We don't win World Cup games and we don't make good music. So Mexico and England and Brazil and Norway. What do you got?
If you look historically, I don't think it's a great Brazil team. I do think Vinicius is a great player, and I do think Gabriel, I can't say his last name, Magalhaes or something close to that, is a great defender. And without Gabriel, I think there'd be an upset alert because of Haaland. But I think of the very small handful of defenders on earth that can compete physically with Haaland, Brazil happen to have one of them. And that's why I think Brazil will win that game. I think the key, Morocco showed you the key to Brazil. If you can shut down Vinicius and you have good fullbacks and good man-v-man defenders out wide, you can give this Brazil team problems. Cunha, Gabriel, they're not bad players, but I don't believe they're World Cup winners on an individual level. I think Vinicius is. If he goes off, Brazil win every game Vinicius is successful in. I really do. So I would say Brazil. I do think it'll be tight. I do think Norway are good defensively. I do think it will settle into the pattern of Norway sitting back and trying to counter, and Brazil win it by a goal. The England game is a whole different scenario. There is like personnel-wise, England win the game. The only nightmare matchup is Quinones out wide on the left against whoever England choose to play right back, because we just saw the Congo game. And I think a good portion of England fans saw that coming, that Jed Spence was going to struggle man-v-man with Sepenga, who was great in every group stage game. But then you got to think off the field. I don't know if you saw that sort of Egyptian team v Dallas Police kerfuffle yesterday, but there's going to be all kinds of things, I think, from the second England arrive in Mexico that are going to be designed against them. They're going to have the fireworks outside the hotel. They're going to have every bit of hostility and adversity Mexico can do. Then you've got the altitude, which is a very real physical thing. Then you've got the stifling heat, which England don't do well in. Then you got 80, 90,000 Mexicans in the crowd with a hostile environment. This is no joke that England are about to go into. And what I think is a really interesting sort of layer to this is Thomas Tuchel's a very proud man. And he's been talking about other teams playing low blocks, and he's been talking in a, maybe not condescending, but he's been talking down about the concept of being a defensive team. Now, ironically, England's chance to win in Mexico is not by getting up in their face and high pressing them for 90 minutes and bombing the fullbacks on and playing super expansive. England's best chance to win this game, I believe, is to play somewhat of a low block themselves, use the pace on the wing of Gordon, Rashford, Saka, Madueke, and then hope for moments of magic from Jude and Kane, which ultimately is all we've been living off anyway, in probably 2 or 3 of these games at least. But if England go out there and go front foot and play high energy and get up in Mexico's face, I think England run out of gas. and altitude in the last 20, 30 minutes, and I think they get beat. If England don't put some kind of strategy in to shut down the Mexican left winger, whether that be Declan Rice at right back, which would be interesting because he's your best centre mid, maybe, but he played well at right back against Congo, or sending a centre back over to double Quinones and having Rice or Anderson drop into centre back, or playing someone like Morgan Rogers wide right and having him double back. Like, I feel like there has to be some kind of plan that isn't Jed Spence 1v1 against Quinones, because he'll get absolutely destroyed. And it almost cost him the Congo game, and it could cost him this game.
You made mention of how Mexico, just where they are, the heat, the altitude, things that are going to affect that are natural. But then the unnatural of you're traveling in here, maybe your bus gets stopped for 2 hours, maybe, we put, we're going to put the fireworks right outside. We're going to make sure that, people are playing like, basically, is England going to hear anything other than boom, 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 the whole, like, at all times?
Yeah, no.
So I want to speak to that side of it. The fact that Mexico is part of hosting this North American Cup. They're in the round of 16. England's already far away from home. But what can you say about all of the things that are not illegal, but they definitely can affect sleep patterns, driving people crazy, making them uncomfortable, making sure that maybe the hotel is not as accommodating, making sure that like the travel is held up. Just what you can say about all the things that don't happen on the pitch that happen in the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised to hear about something like food poisoning. I bet you England take their own food with them. I think it's an unspoken reality. I think it absolutely is a reality. And if I was the England coach, I'd stay in America for as long as I could and fly into Mexico the day of or the night before the game. I truly would. I think actually, unless you have enough time to acclimatize to altitude, I think the belief is to get in and out as quick as you can is the best strategy on a sports science level. So, yeah, we don't know what's coming, but something's coming. And if England win this game, it's going to be very much a pat on the back for Thomas Tuchel, because it's going to take some very real leadership and guidance and creation of an environment when everything's set up against you. But with that said, that is what the World Cup is. If you want to go to other countries and win World Cup games, then you don't do it with people shaking your hand and playing nice. That's just not the reality. It's tough, and they need to know it's tough and talk about all these things and address them now, rather than complaining about them after the fact as excuses you lost. But the biggest concern is England's right back's not very good. Like that's the biggest concern.
Do you think when England comes into America, it's kind of like going to your ex's house and finding out how well they're doing without you?
I don't know, because I thought the war with England was to stop paying extortionate tax to politicians, and I don't think that's worked out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The other important question is, who is more important to England, Harry Styles or Harry Kane?
Harry Kane, all day.
I would agree with that.
Harry Styles is the poor man's Liam Gallagher.
Okay. Fair enough. I like it. So as we go through that, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I could see Brazil and Mexico moving forward here in this. I do think Norway has had themselves some fun. They can score. They can bring about an offensive onslaught, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do that against Brazil. That's going to be a closer game. I think Mexico can make some quick work of the matchup against England, especially, like you said, stamina, speed-wise.
Wow, Dan.
Yeah.
Confident, huh?
I'm confident in Mexico. I really am. So, and the fact that, it's home soil. So we go to Paraguay, who took down an historic juggernaut, maybe not a juggernaut of recent time, but historic juggernaut in Germany. Paraguay winning that matchup to face France, which is a favorite of potentially many out there to win this World Cup. And then Canada has made it the farthest they've ever been in the World Cup. This year in 2026, they won their first World Cup game. They had never outright had a victory in the World Cup, which is insane to think of. And my dark horse, I had two, and one of them is still alive. The Ivory Coast, sad face, is not. But Morocco is a dark horse of mine since the group stages, and they're rocking and rolling. I know what I think is going to happen in this bracket, but I'd love to know from you, can Paraguay upend another team of history when it comes to France and the expectations that are there with France? And Canada, does their road end with my dark horse of Morocco?
Paraguay cannot beat France. I don't think so. I really don't. I think, see, when you look at England v Mexico, personnel-wise, you take all, like, you put it on a neutral venue, I think in 10 of the 11 places, England are a better team.
Yeah.
But then you got that question mark of, like, Quinones v the right back. I don't think there's a question mark anywhere that France are better than Paraguay. I think there's probably a level, but between all of them, Paraguay's best player might be Cisco, and you're comparing him to Mbappe or the French centre-back. So just know, I understand upsets happen, but this one would really shock me. The Germany one shocked me, but this isn't a great German team. It's arguably the greatest France team of all time. I know France have had some wonderful teams and wonderful players, but I think in decades from now, all these names that are active and building their resumes will be on the levels that your Zidanes and your Thierry Henrys are on, if Mbappe is not there already. So I think France win it comfortably. I do think Morocco beat Canada. They were a semi-finalist last time round. They're probably as good or better, not worse. Canada's not a bad team at all. I quite like Jesse Marsh. I see how he's divided opinion in America. I find him quite likable, but I don't think they beat Morocco.
Yeah, I think my dark horse is going to continue. I do believe, I would love to see Paraguay continue this incredible Cinderella road that makes you feel like March Madness, but I do see France moving forward, and I'm riding Morocco till the wheels fall off. The battle for the Iberian Peninsula, once again, Spain versus Portugal. I knew this was going to happen because, of course, I want Spain to win. Of course, my family and my heritage. But I know, and I'm going to say this, and I said it earlier this week, Stu. You're put into the round of 32 and bracketed. I mean, obviously, you have control over the group stages and what you do, but then you're bracketed by a system. I call BS because I think Spain and Portugal were put here so that they could face each other. And here we go again. Portugal comes back over Croatia. Spain handles their matchup that they had most recently here over Austria. So now we have the Iberian Peninsula that they share, the fight for this. What are your thoughts on Spain, Portugal? All I do is blink my eyes. I go back to 2010 to the 1-0 win by Spain, where I believe Portugal hit the crossbar, and my heart stopped more times than I'm willing to admit within 90 plus minutes of soccer. And that was a year where Spain won the World Cup. So bring me into your thoughts on Spain and Portugal in the Peninsula fight.
It's the best game of the round, isn't it? It's easily the best game of the round. It's a coin toss. If you absolutely put me on the spot, I would say Spain to win by half a goal. But yeah, I wouldn't be like, I'd have zero surprise if either of the two teams won. I wouldn't be like, oh no, wait, that's an upset. I think it's the best game of the round.
Then we have a team that was underwhelming for most of the group stage. In the third match of the group stage, was able to surpass Egypt in their group by running up the goal score at the end of things, although I believe that Egypt was the better team in that group. And I'm speaking of Belgium. Belgium may be on the uptick, playing their best soccer right now. The United States of America has shown that they have come here to win a World Cup, as opposed to what people thought in the past, where it was like, oh, they should just be happy to qualify. They should just be happy to win a match or two. This America team is pushing towards something special. I thought they were going to play Senegal. I think Senegal thought that too, and they had an opportunity at the end of the game, but it went too high over the crossbar. So Belgium moves forward. Are they better than how they started this 2026 World Cup? And what do you see between America and a team that normally is going to be a tough team to beat? Is Belgium weak, or is this going to be a good one?
USA wins, I think. It'll be close. I think Belgium is a better matchup than Senegal. This USA team is reminding me of Pochettino's Tottenham team that made the Champions League final.
Okay.
And remember how he had Dele Alli and Lucas Moura like playing at levels they never played to again. And there was a certain like stifling energy that got up in people's faces and stayed there. There was a certain intensity that was just half a tick above the other team on a consistent basis. And Senegal, for that reason, I think would have been a tougher matchup because the energy and the athleticism and the press of the USA, Senegal can match that. I actually don't think Belgium can. If they play Lukaku, he's a wonderful player who's old. Trossard is a wonderful player who's not physically imposing. De Bruyne is a wonderful player who's physically on the decline. I think they might have got Belgium at the perfect time here, and I think there might be an upset cooking, and USA beats them by a goal. The suspension to Balogun is a backbreaker.
Yeah.
Like, that is the worst player that you could have gone into this game without. So you're hoping for Ricardo Pepi to have the game of his life, have that game where Timmy Smith in the Super Bowl got 200 yards, right? To make up for the missing of Balogun, who's a former Middlesbrough player, by the way, so I love him. But I still just have this gut feeling that there's an identity and an energy to this team that the USA hasn't seen in a long, long time. It's very American. USA went through an era of pretending to be European, and I think losing their identity in the process. And there is a nastiness back to them, and I think they might beat Belgium.
Is the loss of Balogun for a game likened to if England didn't have Harry Kane?
Yeah, it's not good. Pepe's Ollie Watkins. Yeah.
So my question to you, if Spain were to win and the United States were to win, what do I need to do? Because I know where I live and I love America, and I also know that my family and my heart is so deeply, my blood goes back to Spain and Italy. I don't have Italy in this World Cup. So what do I do if Spain plays America?
I think you're a man who loves a story. Spain beating USA is not the story. USA beating Spain is. I think you root for that and jump back on the Spanish bandwagon in the next round if needed.
Fair enough. So I know at the time that we're talking here, Stu, the other pod is more open with the defending World Cup champion of 2022, Argentina. They had this guy Messi. Some people might know of him. And so this to me was the pod that was most wide open. It was almost like a gift to Argentina saying, besides you, it's a toss-up. We have Ghana, we have Colombia, we know Switzerland is through, we have Egypt, who I think is a dangerous team going up against Australia. I mean, when we look at this pod itself, I don't find Argentina to have a tough road. I argue that maybe their toughest matchup could be Egypt in the next round, but ultimately, if I had to put my feet to the fire, I think whoever wins the Ghana-Colombia game and makes it to the end of this pod with Argentina, if that were to happen, that would be my dark horse, the winner of Colombia versus Ghana, to try and upend the defending World Cup champion. In a wide open group, how do you see this thing shaking out ultimately?
I think Colombia is as good as Argentina without Messi. So I think that's the other team. I don't think Ghana beats Colombia. You can't bet against Messi in the form he's in, right? I feel like sometimes people want something new so bad that they say they think it's going to happen when they really don't, just because they want something new. But I think Messi probably fires Argentina to the final here. But Colombia is a very good team. It wasn't that long ago they had an unbeaten streak of 30 plus games, and they looked tremendous in the Copa America. So that's the team that Argentina probably want to face the least. But yeah, it's a very one-sided draw in terms of all the strength being in one side of the bracket.
Cape Verde winning in their first ever World Cup, getting to this opportunity in the round of 32. They draw the reigning World Cup champion. But what do you want to say about Cape Verde? I mean, the smallest country to get into the World Cup was Curacao, who did not advance to the round of 32. But when you look at Cape Verde, and having the history that they have had in this World Cup to be able to build upon something. Whatever happens against Argentina, what are your notes on Cape Verde?
I mean, yeah, I think they're very good. I think it's an interesting thing in soccer, right? Because we fall in love with names and flags. And if this was Cameroon, everyone would respect Cameroon. But because it's Cape Verde, they kind of don't. Well, if you look back to the qualifying league, Cape Verde are here because they finished above Cameroon. So any respect or admiration you have for Cameroon, you now pin that to Cape Verde. Just like Bosnia, people try to make them a joke, but people would have respected Italy, and Bosnia were the reason Italy aren't here. So I think Cape Verde, they're not some kind of novelty act, but I do think they get beat by 2 or 3 goals by Argentina. But they've done a wonderful job getting as far as they've got for sure. Congo, I thought were magnificent. I was lucky enough to go live to watch them play Uzbekistan, and then I suffered through the England game. I thought they were fantastic. I was really impressed with them. They're exciting. They've got good dribblers. They're nice to watch. But Cape Verde seem a little bit more of a grinded out defense heavy team. But yeah, Argentina's too much for them, I think.
A couple points before I let you go, Stu. Inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios with the longtime soccer coach and analyst of the game, speaking on the 2026 FIFA World Cup, as well as his journey here inside of these Great Lakes Honda City Studios. When it comes to the continent of Africa, they sent 10 countries, 9 of them advanced to the knockout round of 32. Of the Congos and the Senegals and so on and so forth, South Africa, who had the first match in the round of 32 against Canada, what can you say about the African continent and where they are when it comes to Morocco? Obviously, of course, what can you say to where the continent of Africa is in the world scope of soccer?
I think it's nice to see so many go through. I thought the South Africa coach did a magnificent job because in the opener against Mexico, I thought they looked horrible. I thought they looked like an 0-3 team waiting to fly home as quick as they could, and to turn it around and to make the knockouts. Very, very well done from them. But I think Africa is an interesting example because you always hear the USA, if our best athletes played soccer, and there seems to be a belief that stronger and faster equals better. Well, Africa would have 7 World Cups because, without exception, the best athletic teams I've ever seen come out of Africa. And in the 90s, it was Nigeria and Cameroon. And then there was a run where Ivory Coast had Drogba and the Toure brothers and a bunch of European stars. There's always been these shining star African teams. But it took Morocco to make the semi-finals, right? But I think this is about the norm and should be about the norm that at least one African team makes the last 8 and multiple make the knockout stages. All their talent plays in Europe, just like the South American teams. They're tremendously gifted defenders, almost like exceptionally, like all the Africans throughout the Premier League in terms of ball winning and 1v1 defense. There's some players, and every now and again you get a magician, right? You got Sepenga for Congo now. Back when I was younger, it was JJ Okocha. I think maybe the summary of Africa up to now would have been they always had world level individuals but never put it together. And I think when that's the case, it was only a matter of time till it got put together. And I think Morocco making the semis last time, and one of them's going to go deep this time. I think this is what should be expected.
Yeah, I like that, and I'm just happy to see it. I'm happy to see the expansion of this. And speaking of expansion, let's get into it. The World Cup typically has 32. Now we have a knockout round of 32 because there's 48 that start here. We added 4 more groups. The expansion from I, J, K, and L getting added when it used to end A through H is where we had it. Now we have I, J, K, and L, and a bunch of those groups saw 3 of their 4 go through. So for or against, now that we're watching the expansion, they're talking about potentially more expansion in the World Cup, maybe to 6. Of all of the countries that can compete, the 200 plus, it's like 211 or something of that respect. What are your thoughts on not starting with 32, but having a knockout round of 32 after starting with 48?
I don't love it, but the genie's not going back in the bottle, right? They're not going to shrink the World Cup. The one thing I don't like as much is when, like, oh, this coach took their country to the first ever World Cup. He's the best coach ever. Well, if he qualified for a 48 team World Cup and a bunch of other guys didn't qualify for a 16 or a 32 team event in history, he's not the best ever. I think that's nonsense, and I really don't like when I see those headlines. But I think this is an inevitable. I don't like the third place rule. It takes away the drama of the group stage. I think this is an inevitable march to a 64 team World Cup with a 32 team knockout round, which would be the top two over again, and we won't have 8 out of 12 third place teams going through, because that very much took the drama out. The World Cup used to be a case of you lose your first game, you're in trouble. You lose your second game, you're done. And that wasn't the case this year, which was a little bit lame, to be honest. So, yeah, I just think economically, and the fact that they're starting to use 2 and 3 nations for the events, I think we can all see what's coming. I think it goes to 64, and it goes to the knockout round of 32 and on from there. Whether I like it or not, like, not really, but like, you trade off, right? Like the law of compensation, Napoleon Hill. You don't get no easy games, groups of death, and this and that. You do get Curacao and Haiti and all these teams allowed to grow their game and put themselves on the world stage every 4 years and have all the economic development that comes from that. And I'm all right with that trade-off.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think fans should always.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I don't think fans should view everything like a Netflix show. I'd rather watch this. You have to see the benefit of involving nations that wouldn't be involved.
Yeah, I think there's a beauty in that. And I mean, I feel like we're spoiled, and I set my DVR on YouTube TV to record every single World Cup game because I know myself, and over this weekend I'm going to go back and just watch. And because I just want to see it. I want to see the road, like, Cape Verde, as well as, Curacao, and these countries you're just happy. Senegal, that, stuck out to me. The Ivory Coast, that I just found a lot of passion for, and that was from previous. It wasn't just going into this World Cup. So I found myself gravitating toward countries I would know nothing about if not for the World Cup, which I think brings us together. And I would argue, and Papa Joe was on the show yesterday and didn't even know I said it, and he argued it too on his own. I would argue, with no disrespect to the Olympics, that the greatest world competition, anything that truly brings out heritage and blood and nationality and pride, I think, is the World Cup. I don't think anything, including the Olympics, matches the World Cup.
Yeah. Do you want a really interesting bit of Olympic history?
Go ahead.
So I agree about the FIFA World Cup, but there's something happened politically decades ago that a lot of people don't know, where when soccer went into the Olympics, the FIFA World Cup were worried that the Olympic gold medal game would become the biggest game in soccer. And that was a very valid concern. And that is why when you look at Olympic soccer, it's an age-capped U23 tournament where statistics and caps don't count to players' careers, because it was a fear from FIFA that they would be surpassed. And that's also the reason it didn't happen in the women's game, because at that time, the FIFA Women's World Cup wasn't at the point where they were worried about competition. They were just trying to exist. So Olympic soccer was kind of killed before it was allowed to compete with the World Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, seeing all of this now, it's a beautiful thing, and seeing Spain still alive just brings me peace. So with that being said, Stu, let's play some rapid fire. You've been great speaking on a bunch of different things, so I'm not putting you on the hot seat. I'm only putting myself there. You can ask me any 3 questions. What do you got for me? And it could be soccer, or it could be literally anything.
Okay. Dallas Cowboys record in the fall.
Oh boy. So
I'm struggling between 17-0 and 15-2, but I'm interested in your team.
Yeah, so I mean, I can listen, I'll tell you this. I genuinely, and one of my closest friends, and he's like a brother to me, Isaac, he is a brother to me. Him and I were talking about the NFC East, and I told him I think the Giants are going to win the division. He's a Washington Commanders fan. He was not happy with me. I was like, I'm not a Giants fan. I'm just, as a broadcaster, I'm telling you my thoughts. But if I look at the Dallas Cowboys, I think the Eagles are teetering right now. I think they're in like they may dip a little bit. The Cowboys are playing the Giants first week of the season. I'm just going to go through the schedule here. So if I think they split the first 2 weeks, and then I think they lose that one, so that's 1-2, let's say 2-2. then I'm going to say if I feel 3-3 by my birthday, which is October 21st. So if they're 3-3 by that time, based on what I'm seeing, I'm going to say 3-3, 4-3, 5-3, 6-3, 6-4. Let's see here. 6-4, 7-4, 7-5, 7-6, 7-7, 8-7. I'm gonna feel comfortable giving them either an 8-9 or a 9-8 record as a broadcaster and an impartial broadcaster. And this will show you right now, folks, that I am impartial in my business and in my job. I am wearing a Cowboy shirt saying they're going to be 8-9 or 9-8. But that's what I feel comfortable saying at this point, based on what I'm looking at in front of me in the studio.
All right. Sporting event after the World Cup that you're excited about?
Without question, I am grateful to God beyond my imagination, and I don't even know how to say thank you enough for this. I thank the college football playoff, everyone that's involved with it. I thank those in the bowls that I built relationships with over the years. I thank that anyone has seen my work and found value in it. And I would say when the college football playoff, I've covered the college football playoff and interviewed people like Nick Saban ahead of this, but being a part of the college football playoff in its expansion to 12, on site, on location, and going through multiple rounds and being one of the only media people, 300 to 400 people in the entire world that is credentialed to this event, and the only media person in Central and Upstate New York credentialed to the college football playoff. I don't have sufficient words, but I pray to God that we will make it 3 for 3. And as I was at the national championship in Atlanta and I was at the national championship in Miami, I look forward to greeting Las Vegas for the national championship. So I'll say that.
It's awesome. Third one is not current.
Okay.
Best sporting moment you have seen live, not on TV. Live.
Oh, boy. That's tough. Tough in a good way. It's funny because as soon as you say that, I flash all these places that I've been. I would say, I mean, man, there's so many that come to my mind that I was on site for. If I had to pick one, I mean, I have to pick this one. And they didn't win the game. They are my favorite team in Major League Baseball. They didn't win, but it was Game 3 of the 2023 World Series. I have been an Arizona Diamondback fan since they came into existence in 1998. And being a Diamondback fan in New York is atypical. Flying to Arizona and having 30, it was like being raised by wolves and then finding out I'm a human being, being with 30,000 people in Chase Field and bringing my dad to the World Series. We brought each other. Being with my dad, I will tell people this for the rest of my life and in heaven. I watched my dad watch the game more than I watched the game. It gets me emotional. It gets me choked up. Spinning the towels with my dad. I have a video on my phone of us singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And then leaving the stadium and seeing that the Arizona Diamondback fans love their team even when they lose. They were cheering all the way out of the stadium. They're like, we're going to get it. It's okay. We're going to figure this out. To hear the fans love their team in a loss, to be around Diamondback fans, which I've never gotten to do my whole life, and to be at the World Series, which is insane, and to be there with my father, I can honestly tell you that I stared at him more than I stared at the game. It was life-changing, monumental, and in my heart, the Diamondbacks won because I was there with my dad.
It's awesome. It's interesting you say that because if there's a negative about England fans, they are a good group and they're exciting and they bring energy. But if England lose, woof, 80-90% of them jump ship like that.
Well, and I'll tell you, with the fact of you saying woof brings me right to the Apple TV show that I watch, Shrinking, where Harrison Ford, when he doesn't like something, he says woof. So with that being said, Stewart Flaherty, I don't know how to say goodbye, so I will always say see you soon. Let's make more of a habit of this because I've missed you too much, my friend. I will be down south for a bunch of things. I hope we get to cross paths soon, but I just want you to know this, and you know I wouldn't say this on or off the air if I didn't mean it. There's a reason why God brought us together. Our friendship was created within just like 2 or 3 days. And I honestly, genuinely want you to know that I love you, I support you, and I'm just grateful to have you in my corner, and I never question that. So I just want to send you my love, and I want to tell you that I value very much that we have had the opportunity to cross paths, and I'm always thinking of you fondly and always look forward to talking with you.
Love you back, brother.
I'll talk with you soon. Be well.
See ya.
Go Columbus United. That's what I'll say.
Off the bus.
Take care. So that being said, Stu Flaherty here with us. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. Honored and privileged to be able to have the people in my life that I love and that happen to love me back. God bless you, Stu, and to all of your loved ones. I have nothing but kind words and well wishes to say, man. I love you.